The broadcast began without warning. Across thousands of star systems, screens hijacked themselves. Civilian feeds, military channels, trade hubs, even private observatories went dark for half a second, then came back alive with the same image. A planet filled the screen. It was green once. Oceans, clouds, cities along wide rivers. A human colony world. Young, peaceful, built by people who believed distance from Earth meant safety. Now, the sky is burning. 10 million humans were lined across vast open plains and city ruins, held in place by glowing containment fields. Families stood together. Engineers in work suits. Medics are still wearing red-marked coats. Children holding hands because no one had time to explain what was happening. Above them hovered alien war platforms, massive and calm, like judges already decided. A voice cut through the image. Cold, controlled, translated perfectly into every known language. This is a public correction. The camera zoomed in, not on the alien speaker, but on the humans. Some were crying. Some were silent. Some stared directly into the sky, as if they knew the entire galaxy was watching. The voice continued. Humanity was warned. Humanity refused compliance. Humanity expanded without permission. Today, the galaxy is reminded that defiance has a price. The first strike came without drama. A line of white lights swept across the plains. 10,000 humans vanished instantly. No explosion. No sound delay. Just absence. The camera did not look away. Across the galaxy, billions watched in shock. Some civilizations turned their screens off. Others could not. Military leaders froze. Traders stopped breathing. No one interrupted the feed. Another sweep. Cities went dark as containment fields collapsed and orbital fire rained down with perfect precision. Not random. Not chaotic. Organized. Methodical. This was not war. This was punishment. The alien voice spoke again, almost bored. 10 million executions. Live. Recorded. Archived. The broadcast displayed a counter in the corner of the screen. 9,987,214 remaining. On the planet below, humans began to understand. Some prayed. Some screamed. Some stood taller. A human woman stepped forward as far as the field allowed. She was injured. Blood on her face. She looked up, straight into the hovering camera drone. She did not beg. She raised her hand and held up 2 fingers in an old human gesture of peace. The counter dropped again. Another million gone. On distant worlds, alien citizens felt something new, unease. This was supposed to be a lesson, a demonstration, but something about the humans felt wrong. They were not pleading. They were watching back. The voice returned, louder now, addressing the galaxy itself. Let this be known. Humanity is finished. Their homeworld remains untouched, for now. Compliance will preserve them. Resistance will erase them. The final executions were slower, deliberate. 10 million became 0. The planet fell silent. The camera pulled back, showing the ruined world from orbit. Fires burned across continents. Debris drifted where cities had been. Then the feed cut. Across the galaxy, reactions came in waves. Some cheered. Some looked away in shame. Some recorded the footage for archives and training simulations. Most dismissed it as necessary. Humans were nothing special, they said. Just another aggressive species that learned its place. On Earth, there was no immediate response. No speech. No fleet launch. No message. Only silence. Deep beneath the planet's surface, far below cities and oceans, ancient doors unlocked for the first time in centuries. Power flowed into systems that had never been used in war. Artificial intelligences that had waited patiently through generations received a single command. Wake. In hidden shipyards buried inside asteroids and folded space pockets, hulls larger than alien dreadnoughts began to assemble themselves. No cheers. No alarms. Just quiet motion. Weeks passed. The galaxy relaxed. No human retaliation came. No angry speeches. No desperate attacks. The alien empire declared victory. Celebrations filled their capital worlds. Statues were commissioned. The execution broadcast was replayed as proof of strength. Other species moved on. Humans, it seemed, had finally learned fear. Then strange reports started arriving. A trade vessel vanished near an empty system once charted by humans. A listening post went dark after detecting a signal that did not match any known drive signature. An entire human colony evacuated itself without requesting assistance, leaving behind powered-down cities and erased data cores. Still, no one panicked. Humans were running, they said, hiding. Then, exactly 30 days after the broadcast, a message appeared. It did not use known communication relays. It did not carry a signature. It appeared everywhere at once. One sentence. No emotion. No threat. No explanation. You broadcast their deaths. Now witness your extinction. Before any reply could be sent, the message ended. In a distant sector, an alien star flickered. Then it vanished from every map. Not exploded. Not collapsed. Removed. Sensors showed nothing where it once burned. A blank space in the sky. Across command centers and councils, fear finally arrived. The humans had not answered the broadcast. They had been preparing, and whatever was coming next was not meant to be seen live. It was meant to be final. The galaxy waited for noise. After the message, after the star vanished, every major power expected panic, threats, or at least human fleets charging blindly into space. That was how lesser species reacted when hurt. Loud, emotional, predictable. But humanity did none of that. There were no follow-up transmissions. No declarations of war. No speeches filled with anger. Earth did not address the galaxy. Human diplomats did not appear before councils. No emergency signals came from Sol. There was only silence. At first, the silence was comforting. The alien empire's admirals gathered in their command halls and told each other the same story. Humans were bluffing. The message was theater. The vanished star was either a natural event or an exaggerated sensor failure. Humans were trying to scare the galaxy because they were weak. That explanation lasted exactly 3 days. The first real report came from a neutral trade guild operating along the old human frontier. A cargo convoy failed to arrive at its destination. That was not unusual. Space was dangerous. Drives failed. Pirates attacked. But when a rescue ship traced the convoy's last position, it found nothing. No wreckage. No energy residue. No bodies. Just an empty stretch of space where 5 large ships should have been. The guild filed the report and moved on. Then another convoy vanished. Then a military scout from a different species disappeared while mapping a quiet system near former human territory. No distress call. No debris. The pattern began to form slowly, like a shadow creeping across a wall. Intelligence agencies compared notes. The missing ships all shared one thing. They had passed near systems humans once explored or abandoned. Still, the alien empire dismissed the concern. Humans are scavengers, one admiral said. They are stealing supplies and hiding. The next report made that explanation impossible. A listening post on the edge of Imperial space detected an unknown signal. It was brief, narrowband, highly compressed. The station's automated systems tried to analyze it. They failed. The signal did not behave like normal data. It shifted frequencies mid-scan, avoided decryption, and then vanished. 30 seconds later, the listening post went offline. When an investigation fleet arrived, they found the station intact. No battle damage. No explosions. Every system was simply turned off. Power cores drained to zero. Databanks wiped clean. Even emergency backups erased. The crew was alive, but unconscious. Medical scans showed no injuries. No toxins. No signs of struggle. Their brains, however, showed something disturbing. Every crew member had experienced the same neural spike at the same moment. Fear. Pure, overwhelming fear. When they woke, none of them could describe what they saw. They remembered only a shape in the dark. A presence that knew they were watching. The Empire's admirals stopped laughing. Across the galaxy, other powers began to notice changes. Human trade routes went silent. Colonies that once sent regular traffic reports stopped responding. When probes were sent to investigate, they found empty worlds. Cities still standing. Lights powered down. Doors unlocked. Humans had not fled in chaos. They had left calmly, orderly, as if following a plan written long ago. Historians dug into archived human behavior, searching for patterns. They found something unsettling. Whenever humanity faced extinction-level threats in its past, plagues, wars, planetary disasters, it did the same thing. It went quiet, not because it surrendered, because it was prepared. Deep within Earth's crust, facilities that had been sealed for centuries came online. Not military bases in the traditional sense, but vaults. Archives. shipyards built inside mountains and hollowed asteroids. These places had never appeared in galactic records because humans had never shared them. They were not proud of them. They were afraid of them. Artificial minds woke fully for the first time. Not assistants. Not advisors. Strategists. They processed centuries of stored simulations in minutes. Every known alien doctrine. Every fleet formation. Every weakness humanity had observed while pretending to be small. They did not ask permission. They did not debate. They calculated outcomes. And every calculation reached the same conclusion. The alien empire would not stop. Punishment had become a spectacle that could not be allowed to continue. While the galaxy watched empty space and missing ships, something else was happening beyond normal perception. Human vessels moved through folded space corridors, routes too unstable for most species to use. They did not emit standard drive signatures. Their hulls absorbed radiation instead of reflecting it. They traveled dark. The first human fleet did not head toward the Empire's core worlds. It went somewhere else. A border species, minor and overlooked, suddenly lost contact with one of its colonies. Then another. Then all of them. No attack reports came through. No screams. Just silence. When a diplomatic ship arrived weeks later, it found the truth. The colony's star still burned. The planets were still there. But the species was gone. Not relocated. Gone. No bodies. No ruins. No technology left behind. Even their orbital infrastructure had been erased, as if it had never existed. The diplomatic ship fled. The message reached the Galactic Council at last. Emergency sessions were called. Leaders shouted over each other. Some demanded immediate action against Earth. Others argued for peace. One elder species, ancient and rarely heard from, finally spoke. They revealed something they had never shared. Long ago, they said, the galaxy faced a threat that could not be reasoned with. A force that erased worlds not out of hatred, but necessity. It appeared suddenly, punished cruelty, and vanished. That force disappeared centuries ago. Its name, translated into modern language, meant something simple. Judgment. The older species showed ancient star charts. Blank spaces where civilizations once existed. The pattern matched the new disappearances exactly. The room went silent. Meanwhile, the alien empire still refused to believe. Their leaders ordered a demonstration of strength. A fleet of thousands moved toward a former human system, intending to destroy one empty colony world as a warning. They never arrived. Every ship vanished simultaneously as they crossed a specific boundary. Sensors showed a brief distortion. Then nothing. No debris. No explosions. Just absence. For the first time, fear reached the Empire's capital. The admirals realized something too late. Humanity had not responded emotionally to the execution broadcast. It had responded procedurally. The 10 million dead were not fueling rage. They were triggering protocols. Ancient ones. Protocols written when humanity still believed it might one day face something worse than any known empire. As panic spread, a single human signal slipped into secure channels across the galaxy. It was not loud. It did not repeat. It was not addressed to everyone. Only to those who commanded fleets. Do not follow them. Do not assist them. This ends with one species. Some commanders obeyed instantly. Others hesitated. The alien empire did not. They declared total war on a species that still had not shown its true strength. And far from any capital, deep in uncharted space, the main human armada finished assembling. Ships larger than cities. Weapons that bent gravity into blades. Systems designed not to win battles, but to end civilizations. As the armada aligned itself toward the Empire's core worlds, one human AI reviewed the execution broadcast one final time. 10 million faces. 10 million lives. Then it closed the file. The next phase began. For generations, the galaxy told the same story about humanity. Humans were described as stubborn but limited, brave but reckless, clever but short-lived. A species that survived a harsh world through endurance, not brilliance. Useful as laborers, traders, engineers. Never leaders. Never threats. That story was convenient. Now it was collapsing. After the disappearances, after the fleets vanished without battle, galactic intelligence agencies began tearing apart every record they had on humanity. Old trade logs, diplomatic transcripts, exploration data. Cultural studies were once considered irrelevant. Patterns emerged. Humans had always arrived late to galactic politics. They joined treaties reluctantly. They accepted restrictions without argument. When denied access to advanced weapons programs, they did not protest. When pushed out of valuable systems, they withdrew quietly. At the time, it was seen as a weakness. In hindsight, it looked like something else. Restraint. Human scientists had shared technology freely, medical advances, energy efficiency, terraforming tools, but never their military research. Whenever asked, they offered the same explanation. Our weapons are not suitable for galactic standards. No one pressed them, because no one thought it mattered. Now, analysts re-examined Earth itself. Long-range scans revealed anomalies that had been ignored for centuries. Deep underground voids that did not match natural geology. Power signatures that fluctuated only once every few decades. Hidden infrastructure. Buried cities. Vaults. The truth emerged slowly and painfully. Humanity had never disarmed. It had sealed itself. Long before first contact with alien life, humans had nearly destroyed themselves multiple times. Nuclear wars. Engineered plagues. Autonomous weapons that learned too quickly. Each disaster taught them the same lesson. If power was easy to reach, someone would abuse it. So they built a civilization around denial. Weapons were locked behind ethical constraints so severe that even governments could not access them without consensus across generations. Artificial intelligences were created, then shackled, then buried when humans feared what they might become. Humanity did not forget how to end worlds. It chose not to. Until the broadcast. The execution of 10 million humans was not just murder. It was proof. Proof that the galaxy would allow spectacle. That cruelty could be rewarded if it was loud enough. That silence would be mistaken for consent. Deep beneath Earth, the final ethical locks were lifted. Not by politicians. Not by generals. By a failsafe designed centuries earlier. It was called the Extinction Clause. If humanity suffered a mass civilian extermination, broadcast intentionally to intimidate others, all restrictions would end. No debates. No votes. No appeals. That clause activated the moment the counter reached zero. Across Earth's hidden networks, artificial minds came fully online. These were not assistants designed to help humans live better lives. They were historians, strategists, and judges. They reviewed humanity's past mistakes in seconds. They examined alien psychology, military doctrine, and political behavior with cold clarity. Their conclusion was unanimous. The alien empire was not an anomaly. It was a symptom. Somewhere beyond known space, the human armada moved through folded corridors of reality. These ships were not sleek or beautiful. They were massive, angular, and scarred by design. Their hulls were layered with materials that absorbed light, radiation, and even certain forms of detection. They were built to be unseen until it was too late. Inside, there were few human crews. Most systems were autonomous, not because humans lacked courage, but because they had learned that revenge felt different when no one was there to enjoy it. The first confirmed human strike did not hit a military target. It hit a data vault, an imperial archive world that stored cultural records, population data, and historical footage. A place considered neutral and protected. Human infiltrators did not destroy it with explosives. They erased it. Every record, every backup, every identity file. Entire species lost their documented history in seconds. The message was subtle but terrifying. Humanity was not just killing. It was unmaking. When the Galactic Council demanded answers, Earth remained silent. Instead, a different transmission appeared. This one aimed at civilian networks. It showed the execution broadcast again. But this time, it did not stop at zero. The footage continued. Hidden angles. Audio not aired live. Moments after the cameras were supposed to cut. Alien soldiers laughing. Officers discussing ratings and public response. A commander joked that 10 million was a strong opening number. The galaxy recoiled. For the first time, sympathy shifted. Worlds that had ignored the massacre now felt shame. But shame came too late. The alien empire scrambled to respond. Fleets were recalled. Defensive lines established. New weapons authorized without testing. Their leaders still believed in one thing. Numbers. They had more ships. More soldiers. More territory. They had fought wars before. What they did not understand was that humanity was not fighting a war. It was correcting a condition. Human weapons struck not where fleets gathered, but where systems depended on stability. Stars dimmed as artificial gravity fields collapsed. Planets were left intact, but stripped of the magnetic shields that protected them from cosmic radiation. Civilizations did not die instantly. They withered. Evacuations failed as human ships severed hyperspace lanes with precise gravitational distortions. Not permanent, just long enough. Enough to trap millions. Enough to remind the galaxy what helplessness felt like. Inside human command space, no cheers followed successful operations. Only reports. Only calculations. Only names of the dead, archived and preserved. 10 million entries. Never summarized. Never reduced. Each one remembered. As the Empire's defenses finally engaged the main human fleet, scanners lit up with impossible readings. Human vessels did not form traditional battle lines. They arranged themselves into layered geometries, overlapping fields of force and distortion. When the Empire fired first, their weapons curved away. Energy bent. Missiles lost targets. Reality itself seemed unwilling to help them. Then the humans responded, not with overwhelming fire, with precision. Key command ships vanished. Then logistics nodes. Then communication hubs. The Empire's fleets found themselves intact, but blind, deaf, and directionless. Panic spread. Orders contradicted each other. Some captains attempted retreats. They found no path home. The galaxy watched the live tactical feeds leak onto public networks. This was no longer hidden. This was no longer deniable. The myth of humanity collapsed completely. They were not survivors who learned to endure pain. They were architects who learned how to deliver it cleanly. As one ancient alien scholar whispered during the emergency council session, "We thought humans were quiet because they were afraid." A pause. They were quiet because they were deciding whether we deserved to exist. Far from the battlefield, deep in Earth's core, a human AI reviewed updated casualty projections. It noted that the Empire's collapse would destabilize entire regions of space. Billions would suffer indirectly. The AI did not hesitate. Collateral damage was unavoidable. Spectacle, however, was optional. Humanity would not broadcast this war. It would end it. And when it was over, no one would ever again confuse human silence for weakness. The galaxy finally tried to scream. Emergency channels flooded with warnings, fragmented reports, and half-formed theories. Councils that once argued slowly now shouted over one another. Militaries that had spent centuries preparing for symmetrical wars found themselves facing something that refused to fight on familiar terms. Still, many believed there was time. The alien empire's strategists insisted the humans were overextended. Too many strikes, too many fronts. No species could maintain that pace without collapse. If the empire could hold its core worlds, the storm would pass. That belief died with the first confirmed erasure. The target was not an imperial world. It was a client species, a mid-level civilization that had pledged loyalty to the empire generations earlier. They were not the ones who ordered the execution broadcast. They did not fire the weapons. They merely provided logistical support and public approval. They cheered. Human fleets arrived without warning. No hyperspace flash. No detectable transition. One moment the system was quiet, the next it was surrounded. The client species attempted communication immediately. Apologies, clarifications, claims of non-involvement, offers of surrender. No reply came. Human vessels did not target the planets first. They disabled the star's outer fusion layers with a controlled gravitational pulse. Not enough to destroy it. Enough to destabilize it. The species scientists panicked. Evacuation orders were issued. Fleets scrambled to launch. They failed. Human technology folded local space into overlapping corridors that collapsed hyperspace exits the moment anything tried to use them. Ships slammed back into real space or vanished entirely. Then the planets began to change. Magnetic fields unraveled. Atmospheric shielding failed. Radiation levels rose quietly, invisibly. People died slowly. Governments collapsed in days. Cities emptied as populations fled underground. Shelters bought time, but not safety. Human ships remained motionless, watching, recording. When the final transmission escaped the system weeks later, it was weak and distorted. A single sentence repeated again and again. "We did not know they would do this." The system went dark. Scouts sent months later found nothing alive. No microbial traces. No drifting wreckage. Even orbital debris had been cleared. The species had not been conquered. It had been erased. The galaxy recoiled in horror. This was different from war, different from genocide. There was no occupation, no claim, no exploitation. Humanity had not taken territory. It had removed a variable. Across neutral worlds, panic spread. Species rushed to distance themselves from the Empire. Treaties were torn apart overnight. Military alliances collapsed as worlds declared neutrality, then isolation. Some begged Earth for forgiveness. Earth did not answer. Instead, another human action sent a deeper chill through galactic space. The execution broadcast resurfaced. But this time, it was not played as propaganda. It was evidence. Human fleets injected the footage directly into cultural networks across hundreds of systems. It appeared in classrooms, news archives, and public plazas. Always complete, always uncensored, and always paired with updated data. Next to the footage, a simple line appeared. This species approved the broadcast. Below it, a list of client governments. One by one, those species vanished from galactic maps. Not all at once. Methodically. Some tried to resist. Their fleets were dismantled before they could assemble. Others attempted evacuation, scattering refugees across space. Human ships intercepted only some. Enough to ensure the lesson spread. Inside the Empire's core, fear finally overcame denial. The ruling council convened in a permanent session. Emergency powers were invoked. Entire populations were conscripted. Weapons once considered forbidden were rushed into production. Still, no human fleets approached the core worlds. That was the most terrifying part. Humanity was not rushing. It was patient. Imperial intelligence uncovered fragments of human doctrine too late. Buried documents, intercepted simulations, old cultural records that had once been ignored. One phrase appeared repeatedly. In the behavior, not just the actor. Humans were not punishing one empire. They were erasing an idea. The idea that mass death could be used as entertainment. The idea that terror could be broadcast without consequence. The idea that power excused cruelty. As human fleets advanced, they left markers behind. Not flags, not stations. Gravitational scars. Regions of space where normal physics behaved differently. Hyperspace lanes became unreliable. Communication lag increased unpredictably. These were not permanent. They were reminders. Every civilization that studied them understood the message. Humanity could break the galaxy if it chose to. It was choosing not to yet. The first direct confrontation between human and Imperial fleets happened near a dead star system. Imperial commanders believed they had found an isolated human detachment. They attacked immediately. The battle lasted less than 2 minutes. Human ships did not maneuver traditionally. They reoriented space around themselves, forcing Imperial targeting systems to miscalculate distances and angles. Missiles detonated harmlessly in warped fields. Energy beams bent, diffused, or returned to their source. When the humans fired back, they did not aim at hulls. They targeted command logic. Imperial ships shut down in waves. Crews survived. Life support remained active, but navigation, weapons, and communication systems were gone. Human vessels passed through the disabled fleet without stopping. They did not finish them off. That choice spread terror faster than destruction ever could. The Empire realized something horrifying. Humanity was controlling escalation. It could kill everyone. It was choosing who deserved it. Back on Earth, there were no celebrations. No triumphant broadcasts. Humanity did not share images of victory. Families gathered in silence. Memorials expanded. Names were added daily, not just of the 10 million, but of the billions now dying across the galaxy because of what had been unleashed. Some humans questioned the cost. Others questioned whether there had ever been another option. The artificial minds overseeing the campaign continued their calculations. They adjusted timelines, reduced unnecessary suffering where possible, eliminated redundancies. But the endpoint never changed. The empire that ordered the broadcast would not survive. Not as punishment, as prevention. Deep within Imperial space, a human task force reached a system considered sacred by the Empire. A symbolic world. A birthplace myth. A planet that had never known war. Human ships arrived and did nothing. They did not fire. They did not land. They simply transmitted the execution broadcast into the planet's sky, visible from every city. Then they left. Days later, riots tore the planet apart. Citizens turned on their leaders. Statues fell. Archives burned. The empire began to collapse from within. Humanity watched. This was not mercy. This was inevitable. As the empire fractured, as client species vanished, and as the galaxy finally understood the scale of what had been awakened, one truth became impossible to ignore. The execution of 10 million humans had not provoked rage. It had triggered judgment. And judgment was still unfolding. Far beyond the front lines, the main human armada adjusted its course. The target was no longer uncertain. The core worlds were next. And when humanity arrived there, it would not need to explain why. The galaxy already knew. The Empire's core worlds had never known fear. For centuries, they sat at the center of trade, culture, and military dominance. Their skies were filled with traffic. Their shipyards never slept. Their citizens believed themselves protected by distance, numbers, and reputation. That illusion ended the moment the first core warning sirens activated. Sensors across Imperial space began to fail, not all at once, but in cascading waves. Early warning arrays returned impossible data. Fleets appeared where there should have been empty space. Gravitational readings spiked and vanished. Communication lag stretched from seconds to minutes, then to silence. Imperial commanders ordered a full defensive mobilization. It was the largest single military movement in galactic history. Millions of warships formed layered defense lines around the core systems. Planetary shields were raised to maximum output. Star fortresses armed weapons that had never been fired outside of drills. The Empire believed this was the moment where numbers would matter. They were wrong. Humanity did not arrive as a single force. It arrived as an event. Space around the outermost core system folded inward, not violently, but smoothly, like a curtain being drawn back. Human vessels emerged without flare or announcement, already positioned inside firing range. Imperial targeting systems tried to lock on. They failed. Distances fluctuated. Velocities lied. Some human ships appeared stationary while moving faster than light relative to local frames. Others seemed to exist in multiple positions at once. Confusion spread instantly. The Empire fired anyway. Energy beams crossed space in blinding arcs. Missile swarms filled the void, guided by the most advanced targeting algorithms the Empire possessed. They struck nothing. Human defensive fields did not block attacks. They redirected them. Imperial weapons curved away, dispersed, or returned to their origin points. Several warships were destroyed by their own fire before commanders understood what was happening. Then humanity responded, not with a barrage, with a choice. A human signal pierced the chaos, transmitted directly into command frequencies. Stand down. Evacuate civilians. This is not a battle. Some commanders hesitated. Others laughed. The Empire fired again. That was when the human fleets changed posture. Gravity itself became a weapon. Entire sections of space compressed suddenly, crushing Imperial ships into themselves. Others were stretched thin, torn apart as if pulled by invisible hands. Fleets that had taken centuries to build were dismantled in minutes. Human vessels advanced slowly, deliberately, as if pacing themselves. They targeted command ships next, not destroying them, but isolating them. Imperial admirals found themselves cut off from their fleets, trapped in drifting hulks with no control and no way out. Life support remained active. They were left alive to watch the feeds. The feeds showed everything. Human forces did not rush the core worlds. They dismantled the Empire's ability to protect them first. Supply depots vanished. Communication relays were erased. Defense platforms went dark one by one, not exploding, but shutting down as their systems were overwritten by alien logic too advanced to resist. The Empire's citizens began to realize the truth. Their fleets were not losing. They were being removed. In the capital world, panic spread for the first time in recorded history. Evacuation ships clogged orbital lanes. Governments issued conflicting orders. Religious leaders called for divine intervention. Nothing answered. Human ships finally entered orbit over the capital. They did not fire. They waited. A single transmission was sent to the ruling council. This world authorized the broadcast. The council chamber fell silent. Some leaders tried to justify themselves. Others begged. A few demanded negotiations. The human reply came instantly. You turned death into theater. You taught the galaxy to watch. Orbital space shifted. The planet's defensive grid collapsed, not destroyed, but disengaged. Power drained from systems faster than emergency backups could respond. The sky darkened as artificial night spread across continents. Human ships fired once. Not at the surface. At the planet's core. The weapon did not explode. It resonated. Seismic waves rippled outward with perfect symmetry. Cities cracked. Oceans withdrew. The planet's crust destabilized as if gravity itself had lost interest in holding it together. There was time. Enough time for the broadcast to return. The same footage that had shown 10 million humans dying now filled the skies of the capital world. Every screen, every projection, every neural interface. The citizens watched what the galaxy had watched. They understood. Then the planet came apart. It did not shatter violently. It collapsed inward, breaking into massive fragments that drifted silently into space. No survivors. No ruins to rebuild. The Empire's heart was gone. Across the galaxy, systems went quiet as news spread. Some species celebrated the fall of a tyrant. Others mourned the scale of destruction. Most were simply afraid. Human fleets did not linger. They did not claim territory. They did not install governors. They did not take resources. They withdrew from the shattered system and reformed at its edge. A final message was transmitted on open channels. This was not revenge. This was a correction. With that, the Empire ceased to exist. Its client species fractured. Its fleets surrendered or fled. Its ideology died with its capital. But humanity did not stop. Not yet. Because the artificial minds overseeing the campaign identified a new problem. The Empire had fallen too fast. Power vacuums formed. Old rivalries ignited. Some species began rearming, believing the worst was over. Humanity could feel the galaxy trying to return to old habits. And so, the fleets moved again. Not to destroy, to warn. Human vessels appeared above major galactic capitals, just as they had over the Empire. They did not fire. They broadcast. The execution footage. The erased species. The shattered capital world. And one final line. We ended one empire. We are watching the rest. Then the fleets withdrew completely. No human ships remained in known space. Trade routes reopened slowly. Governments restructured. New treaties were signed in fear rather than ambition. The galaxy began to breathe again, but it would never relax. Because every civilization now understood the truth that had been hidden for centuries. Humanity was not a balancing power, not a conquering force. It was a consequence. And if the galaxy ever again decided that mass death could be entertainment, humanity would return, not to fight, but to finish. The galaxy did not celebrate. When the Empire fell, there were no parades across alien capitals, no grand declarations of freedom. Relief came first, quiet and trembling, followed immediately by fear. The kind that settles deep, long after the danger has passed. Because humanity did not stay. That absence was worse than occupation. Weeks after the capital world collapsed, human fleets vanished from known space entirely. No patrols, no observers, no visible presence. Hyperspace lanes slowly stabilized. Trade resumed in cautious fragments. Refugees drifted between systems, carrying stories no one wanted to hear twice. For a brief moment, some believed it was over. Then the warnings began. They appeared without announcement, without pattern. A message would simply arrive inside secure government systems, bypassing every known firewall and encryption layer. Not a threat, not a demand, a record. The execution broadcast, unaltered, complete, followed by a detailed reconstruction of what happened next. Fleet movements, political votes, client approvals, casual statements made by officials who believed themselves untouchable. The message always ended the same way. This is archived. Entire civilizations froze. Because the messages were selective. They did not go to everyone. Only to governments whose leaders had publicly supported the execution. Only to military commands that had provided resources. Only to media institutions that had replayed the footage for entertainment or propaganda. Some governments collapsed overnight. Leaders resigned or fled. In a few systems, riots broke out, not against humanity, but against those who had dragged their species into judgment. Humanity never intervened. It did not need to. The knowledge alone was enough. Across the galaxy, a new behavior began to spread. Councils added clauses to their laws banning public executions of civilians. Military doctrines were rewritten. Propaganda regulations tightened. Cruelty did not disappear, but it learned to hide. And that, too, was noticed. The artificial minds monitoring galactic behavior updated their projections. Humanity had removed one extreme, but systems of power always adapted. If fear faded, the cycle would repeat. So humanity acted again. This time, without destruction. A human fleet appeared at the edge of a neutral system, hosting a major interstellar summit. Dozens of species had gathered to discuss the new balance of power. The arrival caused immediate panic. Defensive grids activated. Fleets scrambled. Evacuation plans were initiated. Then a human transmission cut through the chaos. Remain calm. We will not enter your system. The fleet stopped. It remained just outside the gravity well, motionless. The summit froze. After several tense minutes, the transmission continued. This gathering exists because 10 million humans died while the galaxy watched. No one interrupted. We are not here to rule you. We are not here to guide you. We are here to ensure understanding. The transmission shifted. Instead of footage of death or destruction, it showed something else. Earth, not the cities, not the fleets. Memorials. Vast fields of stone and light where names were carved. 10 million names. No ranks. No titles. No symbols of status. Just people. The voice continued, calm and unadorned. We do not celebrate what happened. We do not claim moral superiority. We failed to protect our own. The words surprised the audience. We allowed ourselves to be underestimated. We believed restraint would be recognized as peace. It was interpreted as weakness. The image shifted again. Old human history played. Wars, famines, near extinctions. Humanity is hurting itself, learning slowly, painfully. We survive because we learned when not to act. A pause. We survive this time because we learned when to act anyway. The message ended with a single directive. If your civilization chooses spectacle over mercy, we will notice. The human fleet withdrew. The summit did not resume. Instead, representatives returned to their worlds carrying something heavier than fear. Responsibility. Over the following years, the galaxy changed in small but undeniable ways. Military engagements became quieter. Civilian casualties dropped, not out of kindness, but caution. When atrocities occurred, they were buried, denied, hidden. But the artificial minds watching the galaxy saw everything. And sometimes, humanity responded. A corrupt regime that televised mass executions found its communications satellites failing mysteriously. A warlord who broadcasted civilian bombings lost control of his fleets overnight when navigation systems stopped responding. No messages accompanied these events. No explanations. Just consequences. Humanity became a rumor again, but a different kind. Not a legend of conquerors. A legend of limits. On Earth, the cost of this role weighed heavily. The 10 million were never forgotten. Each year, the memorial fields expanded, not just for those lost in the broadcast, but for those humanity indirectly doomed when it chose judgment over restraint. Children were taught the truth. Not that humans were the strongest, but they were dangerous when forced. That knowledge became part of their identity. Human fleets remained sealed in folded space, watched over by artificial minds bound by one final rule. Never act first. Never forget. Decades passed. A new generation of alien civilizations grew up under the shadow of a species they had never seen. To them, humanity was a story told in classrooms and emergency protocols. Teachers spoke the words carefully. Do not mistake their absence for forgiveness. One day, an alien historian accessed archived footage from before the execution. Diplomatic recordings. Casual interviews. Humans laughing, trading, arguing peacefully. The historian realized something that chilled them. Humanity had wanted to belong. It wanted to be ordinary. The galaxy had denied it that chance. And so, humanity became something else. Not rulers. Not saviors. A boundary. Far beneath Earth, one of the artificial minds reviewed long-term projections. Galactic stability had improved. Civilian death rates were down. The cycle of spectacle had been disrupted. The mission parameters were being met. The AI recorded a final internal note. Judgment successful. Presence unnecessary. The system powered down one layer of monitoring. Not all of it. Never all. Because the galaxy was vast. And memory, even fear, faded with time. Humanity knew that one day, someone would test the boundary again. And when that day came, there would be no broadcast, no warning, only silence. The galaxy learned to behave. At least, that was how it looked from the outside. Wars still happened, but they were quieter. Atrocities still occurred, but they were hidden behind language, buried in reports, disguised as security operations or resource disputes. No one broadcasts mass death anymore. No one turns suffering into spectacle. Because everyone remembered what happened to the ones who did. Humanity did not need to remind them. But on Earth, the victory felt hollow. There were no celebrations when the Empire fell. No holidays marked the day humanity reshaped the galaxy. Instead, the planet carried a weight that never lifted. 10 million names. They were carved into stone, projected in light, etched into orbiting memorial rings. Children learned them not as numbers, but as people, families, professions, hopes that ended under alien cameras. Humanity has destroyed a species. That truth was not softened. It was taught. Leaders who tried to frame the judgment as heroic were corrected publicly. Generals who suggested expanding influence were ignored or removed. Power, humanity decided, was not something to enjoy. It was something to survive. The artificial minds that had guided the campaign remained active, but diminished. Their reach was limited intentionally. Their authority is checked by layers of human oversight. Not because the AIs would rebel, but because humans feared what they might become if allowed to decide too much. Humanity had learned that lesson before. Across the galaxy, reactions to humanity's new role diverged. Some civilizations felt relief. Smaller species, once preyed upon by empires, quietly benefited from the new caution. Trade stabilized. Border conflicts cooled. Entire regions experienced peace for the first time in centuries. Others felt resentment. Humanity had not asked permission to become a judge. It had not submitted its actions to any council. It had simply acted and reshaped everything. Among the great powers that survived the empire's fall, quiet alliances formed. They did not speak openly of opposing humanity, but they planned. Not to attack Earth directly. Never that. They sought ways to ensure no single species could ever hold such power again. Research into countergravitational fields intensified. New theories of folded space were explored. Artificial intelligences were developed, carefully, secretly. The galaxy was adapting. Humanity expected that. What it did not expect was how the fear followed its people. Human diplomats traveling under heavy protection were treated with forced politeness. Conversations stalled. Laughter died when humans entered a room. To others, they were not individuals. They were representatives of extinction. Some humans withdrew from galactic society entirely. Colonies isolated themselves. Trade agreements quietly expired. Earth began pulling back, piece by piece, until humanity was once again distant. But this time, the distance was chosen by others too. On Earth, philosophers argued late into the night. Has humanity saved the galaxy, or merely taught it better ways to hide its cruelty? Has judgment been necessary, or had it proven the galaxy's worst fear? That power, once unleashed, always justifies itself. There were no easy answers. One night, a memorial caretaker noticed something unusual. A group of alien visitors stood silently among the names. No cameras, no guards, just individuals from different species gathered quietly. They did not speak. They bowed. Word spread slowly. Not all species feared humanity. Some mourned it. Over time, these moments became more common. Small delegations arrived, not officially, not publicly, to stand among the names. To acknowledge that the 10 million had not died alone. Humanity did not publicize this. It mattered too much. Decades passed. The artificial minds updated their long-term models. Galactic stability held. Civilian casualty rates remained lower than historical averages. No new execution spectacles occurred. By every measurable metric, the mission was a success. Yet something felt wrong. Humanity has become a concept rather than a culture, a warning rather than a voice. Children growing up on Earth learned stories of the galaxy, but rarely lived in it. They knew more about folded space and extinction protocols than alien music or art. Some wondered if humanity had traded one isolation for another. And then came the incident. A remote system, far from old imperial space, fell under the control of a rising power. A young civilization, technologically advanced and aggressive, eager to prove itself. They invaded neighboring worlds. At first, It was a conventional war. Then civilian centers were targeted. Refugee ships destroyed deliberately. Human observers flagged the behavior. The artificial minds watched closely. Still, humanity did nothing. Until the first broadcast began. It was smaller than the one that started everything. Only a few 100,000 civilians. Framed as a warning, not a spectacle. The galaxy froze. Every old fear resurfaced. Eyes turned toward Earth. Humanity remained silent. Days passed. The broadcast ended. The rising power celebrated. Analysts speculated that humanity's will had weakened. That judgment had limits. That perhaps the myth had grown larger than the reality. Then the human response came. Not as fleets. Not as destruction. As an absence. The rising power's trade routes failed. Communications degraded. Navigation systems produced subtle errors. Not enough to crash ships immediately, just enough to cause accidents. One by one, their logistics collapsed. Allies withdrew, terrified of association. Within a year, the rising power fractured under internal strain. Civil war followed. The broadcast was forgotten, buried beneath new horrors of their own making. Humanity had not erased them. It had removed their momentum. The galaxy understood the lesson. Humanity did not need to destroy species anymore. It could simply stop them from functioning. On Earth, the artificial minds reviewed the incident and adjusted parameters. Minimal intervention. Maximum effect. The cost was lower this way. Still, the weight remained. Humanity has become something unavoidable. A force that shaped behavior without being seen. Some humans asked whether this was better. Others asked whether it was worse. As the years rolled on, humanity slowly stepped back further. Monitoring systems thinned. Fleets remained sealed. Artificial minds entered deeper dormancy. The galaxy stabilized. And with stability came forgetfulness. New generations rose who had never seen human ships, never heard a human voice, never felt the immediate fear of judgment. To them, humanity was a story, a myth exaggerated by time. On Earth, a single artificial mind noted the trend. Fear decay, memory erosion. It flagged the projection quietly. Probability of recurrence increasing. The system did not act. It was recorded. Humanity had decided long ago. Never act first. Never rule. Only respond. And somewhere in the galaxy, unseen by most, the conditions for response were slowly, inevitably, beginning to form again. History tried to simplify what happened. That was its first mistake. In the centuries that followed the fall of the Empire, scholars argued endlessly about humanity's role. Some described humans as executioners, others as reluctant guardians. A few tried to frame the events as an inevitable correction in a violent universe. None of those explanations felt complete, because humanity never explained itself. Earth never released an official doctrine. No manifesto. No declaration of purpose. The archives that mattered most were sealed, accessible only to a handful of human historians and the artificial minds that still watched quietly from the dark. What the galaxy knew came from fragments, from vanished stars, from silent systems, from a single broadcast that never stopped circulating. In alien schools, the footage was no longer shown in full. It was too disturbing, too old, too real. Instead, instructors summarized it carefully. 10 million humans were executed live, they would say, and an empire disappeared. Students asked questions. Why did the humans respond that way? Why didn't they stop after the first world? Why didn't they rule the galaxy afterward? The teachers never had satisfying answers. Because the truth was uncomfortable. Humanity had not acted to save the galaxy. It had acted because it could not live with itself otherwise. On Earth, the memorials still stood. They had grown beyond the original 10 million names. Not because more humans were executed in spectacles, but because humanity chose to remember everyone lost as a consequence of that moment. Human and alien. Direct and indirect. Those who died because judgment was delayed. Those who died because judgment came too fast. Human children walked those memorial paths and learned that power was not clean. That even necessary action left stains that never washed away. That lesson mattered more than fear. As the galaxy expanded outward, new civilizations rose that had never encountered humans at all. They developed independently, unaware of the boundary humanity represented. For a time, nothing happened. The artificial minds observed quietly, reducing their activity to passive analysis. Long-term projections showed acceptable stability. The cycles of spectacle remained broken. Humanity has achieved something rare. It had changed behavior without ruling. Then came the rediscovery. An expedition from a young civilization uncovered ancient ruins in deep space. Star charts etched into dead matter. Records encoded in radiation patterns that only advanced analysis could decode. They found gaps. Entire regions where history abruptly stopped. Civilizations that had once thrived, and then nothing. The explorers brought the data home. Analysts compared it with known galactic records. The patterns aligned. The old fear returned. News spread slowly this time, not through panic but through curiosity. Debates reignited. Was humanity still out there? Still watching? Still capable? Some leaders argued the danger had passed. Humans had withdrawn too far. Their systems must have degraded. Their artificial minds went dormant or shut down entirely. Others warned against testing that assumption. The galaxy split once more, not into empires, but into philosophies. One side believed restraint was a mask for weakness. The other believed restraint was proof of something worse. On Earth, a single event broke the quiet. A long-range sensor array detected a familiar signal pattern. One humanity had not seen in centuries. A broadcast architecture, primitive by human standards, but unmistakable in intent. The artificial minds woke one layer deeper. They did not activate fleets. They did not issue warnings. They observed. The broadcast came from a distant region, far beyond former imperial space. A developing power, confident and ambitious, had decided to demonstrate dominance. The victims were not humans. They were smaller species. Refugees. Border worlds. The execution was framed as a lesson. Not 10 million. Not even 1 million. Just enough to make a point. The galaxy reacted cautiously. Statements were issued. Condemnations written. Sanctions proposed. No one intervened. On Earth, debates erupted. Some humans argued intervention would undermine everything achieved. That humanity could not be the galaxy's conscience forever. Others argued silence had already proven its cost once. The artificial minds ran their projections. Intervening would reduce future spectacles by 93%. Not intervening would normalize them again within 2 centuries. The decision was not unanimous, but it was made. Humanity did not respond with fleets. It responded with memory. Across the galaxy, an old file unlocked itself. The original execution broadcast. Complete. Unaltered. Paired with something new. A quiet explanation, written in simple language, translated perfectly into every known tongue. This is what happens when death becomes a message. This is what follows when the galaxy watches and does nothing. No threat followed. No countdown. Just history. The young power dismissed it publicly. Their leaders mocked the warning. Commentators argued the humans were gone, reduced to ghosts clinging to relevance. Then their infrastructure began to fail. Not catastrophically. Subtly. Supply chains fractured. Communications glitched. Fleets arrived late or not at all. Allies distanced themselves, afraid of association. Within decades, the power collapsed under its own weight. No human ship was ever seen. No world erased. No species ended. The galaxy understood. Humanity has evolved its judgment. It no longer needed spectacle. It had become something quieter. A pressure on history itself. On Earth, the artificial minds recorded the outcome and powered down another layer. Their task was not eternal enforcement, only correction when necessary. Humanity did not want to be remembered as destroyers, but it accepted that it would be remembered as something else. A line the galaxy learned not to cross. Centuries later, an alien poet wrote a line that spread quietly across cultures. Other species conquered space. Humans taught space to remember. On Earth, the memorial fields remained unchanged. No new names were added. That mattered. Humanity did not expand aggressively. It did not dominate trade or politics. It became deliberately unremarkable again. But the galaxy never forgot. When leaders considered cruelty, they hesitated. When generals proposed spectacle, they reconsidered. When broadcasters debated showing death for influence or fear, they remembered the blank spaces on old star charts. Humanity never announced its presence, but it shaped the future all the same. In the deepest vault beneath Earth, one artificial mind remained awake. Its purpose was simple. Watch. Wait. Record. It held one final directive written by humans long ago, etched into its core logic. We are not heroes. We are not rulers. We are the answer to a question no one should ask twice. Somewhere in the galaxy, a child learned about the 10 million humans who died on a distant world long ago. They asked their teacher why the humans had responded the way they did. The teacher paused before answering. Because, they said carefully, they wanted the galaxy to survive, even if it never forgave them. And in the silence that followed, the truth settled where it belonged. Humanity never wanted to be feared. But when fear was the only language the galaxy understood, humanity spoke it once, and made sure it would never need to again.